Akasan's Honest Reactions. I am Akasan. And over here, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Adam, here from Superhero News.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This is actually part 2, our spoiler of Suicide Squad here. Are going to be the spoiler talk. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, or you haven't seen part 1, please jump on over to Superhero News, okay? On YouTube all the time, just like me. And check out our part 1. We did about 25 minutes or so. We had a nice, interesting talk. But now, all that kitty stuff is out the way. All the little, the tiptoeing around things are out the way. Now we dive into spoilers.
Second time you nailed it.
I've had a lot of practice. It is my intro sometimes, so. Rocking the brand new t-shirt, by the way, the Yaka Shield. Good. Yeah, it looks really good on camera, actually. I like it.
Very good.
I like it. I think I'm going to try the gray one next. And of course, you have my favorite symbol right there as well. Again, check out part 1, but just a recap, we just came back from the IMAX screening here at the Man's Chinese Theater. I love this little thing. This is so cool. The sound was good. I noticed that they do use a different type of IMAX glasses, different than what I'm used to in Japan.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of a haze, but you know what? After a while, I actually am able to go with the haze more than I am with the regular IMAX 3D, where that darkens the screen. It usually gives me a migraine or something like this. I worked with it. I was down with it when I almost called her Electra when Magic Chick.
Enchantress.
Enchantress, yeah. Electra. When she was doing her thing dancing, there was a lot. Yeah, she was doing this weird thing, but it was cool.
I'm like, are you hula hooping? What's happening here?
It worked. It worked well. I thought there were a lot of things. So we already talked about like what, in short, we felt Suicide Squad. I liked it. It was your second time seeing it.
Yep.
We felt that the wrap-up version of all of this was we would have liked more Joker, but maybe if more Joker would have made it too much of a Joker movie. I guess he is in it for a short time. Let's just get the main. I think one of the biggest spoilers out of all of them was the Flash showing up. Yeah. Ding, ding. I thought about that.
Yeah, totally.
So I guess a lot of this, when it comes to spoilers, this begs the question, was it important for the scene? Was it important to have in the movie or not? Or was it just a nice little Easter egg, especially with the Flash?
Yeah. I mean, to me, honestly, it literally was just for fans. Yeah. It was a complete 100% Easter egg. And it's great. It's cool. Everything that I've been seeing from Ezra Miller as the Flash, I've been loving. To me, I think he's going to be that linchpin who really holds the universe together, simply because he is a little bit of levity. He's a breath of fresh air. And to me, like, that's so key in these movies. My only concern is, as a regular moviegoer who does not read the comics, who doesn't know that Digger Harkness is the nemesis of the Flash, is gonna go look at it and go, "Is that the guy from the TV show? What role does he play in this movie?"
Or not even that. They're just gonna be like,
"Who's Flash?
What was that?
Yeah, what was that? What's the red thing? Is he a bad guy?
Was that a Power Ranger?
Yeah,
like that,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So there's a lot of, and I think that's a lot of things that the movie actually suffers from. Is once again the DCEU and the writers they're just banking way too much on fanboy knowledge about comic books and fanboy knowledge about just comic TV shows or something like that.
When Batman shows up, no one questions who that is.
Yes.
You know it's the mother effing Batman. Yeah. But with Flash, a little harder.
Yeah. And you know what? I will say that was actually the best. That was the best I've seen from Ben Affleck as Batman. And I don't know why I felt it was going to be this way, but I just felt like it was done right. He was in it. He played more of the Phantom type of character. I disagree with the fact that I read an article, or a brief article, very quickly read because I didn't want spoilers, but they were saying how Batman was supposed to be the villain, the one that everybody fears. I'm like, the dude is in it for 2 scenes. That's basically it.
And I feel bad because I put out a tweet and I said, from what I just read, Batman will be the Michael Myers of Suicide Squad, the shape. And when I read that, I was like, oh, it's going to be good.
Right.
He's in 2 scenes, and then he's in 1 scene as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing because, but they did utilize him. I think Ayer utilized him way better than Zack Snyder did in terms of like he didn't look goofy being around. I like the fact that he did look slimmer, but he's still like
he's still beefcake.
Yeah, I'm still not big on the whole like. My thing is like it should be a little more cape, a little less like this.
Yeah.
Like the scene with him between him and Deadshot, just it didn't. If I had done it, I would have, especially when they were trying to make it more Phantom Batman, which still, again, better than BVS. I would have shadowed him out a little bit more, especially when Deadshot had the gun on him or something. Just give him the shadow look more. Give him the more Phantom Batman look instead of this brooding muscle thing. Because just in my mind, I'm just like, that looks so easy to hit. Like you could hit
it's an easy target.
It's an easy target. Like you could hit that broadside of a barn so easily, Deadshot. Like come on now. But overall, I did like the scenes that he was in, and I did like the interaction between him and Harley. That was actually one of the best parts of the movie.
With Batman
when
and Harley?
Harley was underwater. Batman tries
I
to
can't swim!
but she's knocked out cold. She starts screaming.
Yeah.
And Batman punches.
He knocks her the hell out.
Which is great because that's exactly what I feel the Batman should be doing. Not snapping Harley's neck or something.
I'm trying to save your life. Chill out.
Right. So I thought that worked a lot better. And then on top of that, he had to give mouth to her, and she actually started laughing about that.
Right.
So.
You know what's funny about that is like there were people online who thought that he was trying to make out with her, and I'm like, bro, no.
Those are some very stupid people.
Yeah, I'm like. He's not trying to make out with her. What are you kidding me? If anything, she's trying to make out with him and then laughing about it.
And on top of that, like you saw the regret, like Ben Affleck actually had some acting chops here. Like you saw, like behind that couch, you saw he kind of wasn't. He's like, oh,
damn it,
I gotta do it.
Yeah,
he's like, all these machines I have the rebreather, and I don't have like a resuscitation.
Yeah, exactly.
Machine. Like he was kind of pissed about that. So I did like that. I did like now we can throw the spoilers in. What did you feel about Leto? Leto as Joker?
Yeah, like I mean, I like from what I saw, most of it I liked, but I think it comes down to I just need more of him, and he is very maniacal, very just cold, and he's literally just a psychopathic killer. Like there is the difference I think between like his Joker, Ledger's Joker, and even Jack Nicholson's Joker. This is probably a Joker that I'd be the most terrified to have a run-in with. Yeah. With Jack Nicholson's Joker, I'm like, I could probably outrun this guy. He could probably like cap me once or twice in the back, but I feel like I could outrun him. With Ledger's Joker, I feel like he'd be just kind of creeping in and out of the shadows, but wouldn't necessarily directly like go after you. I feel like this Joker would just straight up come up and just murder and hack you up into pieces.
Now, and here's the thing that's kind of weird about all of this is the fact that we saw a very terrifying look Joker, and he wasn't funny at all.
Right.
And the thing, like I've always I've always talked about, is that Joker is in some form or fashion still funny. And
uncomfortably funny.
Uncomfortably funny. You laugh at some of the stuff he does, but you're like, oh God, I shouldn't be laughing at it.
Right.
Here,
I should feel guilty about this, but I don't.
He was just some sort of like murderous pimp type of deal. And that kind of threw me off a little bit because on top of that, for all of his brutality, I felt he cared about Harley, but I didn't understand why he cared about Harley.
Yeah.
I think this was a kind of a misfire, and we talked about this early on. this was a kind of a misfire, and I'm sure one of the reasons why the critics panned this movie is because we subconsciously fill in a lot of blanks because we've had Paul Dini explain to us the origin of Harley Quinn and the whole therapy and the therapist and how all this kind of came, how Harley Quinn came to be. For somebody that's never seen Harley Quinn before, or you can kind of understand who the Joker is, but you've never seen who Harley Quinn is before. You're like, did this girl get raped or tortured, and now suddenly she's in love with him and he loves her? It's like, what? Like,
that to me is probably one of the weaker parts of the movie. Is that I think they do a really good job when the two characters are interacting.
Yes,
and you see them. You kind of see where the relationship is at that moment, but you don't really know where it came from.
Yes,
you don't know why Joker is infatuated with her. You know he is, because of the scene with like him and Common, and then in the Ace Chemicals where she jumps into the vat of chemicals, you see him. He wants to walk away, but then he's like, "No, I got to go after her." So then he goes after her, but you don't really understand why is he so infatuated with her.
Yeah, I thought about that too, because at first I was like, especially because of the trailer, I'm like, well, I know he's gonna jump in, but like that scene was portrayed in a sense like, was he wanting to go back, like for just a brief second, like, oh, is he going to actually? But I didn't really question him having an inner struggle too much. I was just like, okay, that's cool. And then they really made out a lot. That was really weird. Like they like, I can accept Joker caring about Harley. That's something very new in this story, in most of the comics. Like, you see him kind of playing with her a little bit,
right? He toys with her emotions a lot,
right? But like, this was the first time I actually legitimately, he's texting her up like, I'm coming to get you, like, I'm gonna, like, but you, like, he's going through, and he's actually broken up quite a lot when Harley gets caught, even though he swam out of the car. He saved himself, and Batman locked her up or something like that. But that was a weird thing. Like, their relationship didn't get that might have been what Leto said in terms of a lot of stuff being cut out, because maybe there was more in that psychiatrist scene that could have been flushed out more.
For sure, yeah. And I think that psychiatry scene is like, when Amanda Waller is giving the backstory, I love what I was seeing. I just wanted more. I wanted to understand more. And it's not even just for me, it's for the general audience.
Yes.
Why should the general audience really be invested in these two? And why you have to give them a reason to walk out of the movie and be like, I don't understand why those two were in love.
Yes.
I don't get it. I think that's the big thing, is like, you need to let the audience know, like, this is why these two are so obsessed with one another.
Especially because it's so intricate. Well, I wouldn't even say intricate part of the movie, but plays a big part of keeping the action going in the movie. And like you said, like, they're like an abused couple. They abuse each other, but we don't understand why they're so, like, she started out like, I don't even know if they really touched upon the fact that she really started off as a good, like, they kind of talked about it for 5 seconds. Yeah,
they pepper it in there for like a hot minute, but it's like really quickly gone.
Right. And then suddenly you see something out of Alex Ross's drawing of them. And
which I thought was dope.
I thought it was a great scene.
It's a great visual element, but
again, you take we like it, but the average person is like, why are they dressed up like this? Like, what the fuck is going on?
When she holds up the Jester suit, everyone's cheering, but it's a regular viewer. You're like, I don't get it. What? Which is fine. Like, I mean, it's not a bad thing to have Easter eggs. The one thing that surprised me out of both screenings that I went to, when the squad is coming up to the building that Amanda Waller is in, spoiler, obviously, it says the John F. Ostrander building.
Yes.
Not one person, like, cheers, acknowledges it, nothing. Like, to me, it's very surprising when they have Easter eggs like that in BVS, when something is called like Siegel or Schuster or Kane or whatever.
You're gonna have to explain it to me, because I didn't catch it either.
Oh, really? Yeah. So they walk up to the building.
That's the creator of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, so
because nobody knows.
Yeah,
like, nobody reads Suicide Squad.
Right.
That's
so
the main problem.
that to me was. I was surprised, because from the amount of cheering that the movie kept getting, I'm like, oh, these people must read Suicide Squad comics.
Nah.
But they probably don't. They probably just are Joker and Harley fans.
Exactly, because the amount of screaming that we got, the two biggest pops were for the credits of Jared Leto and Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think Ben Affleck was in the credits.
He's not.
Like,
Ezra Miller has a credit, but Ben Affleck doesn't. It's very weird. I don't know.
That was very weird. So, like, everybody was really applauding those two. That's basically... And they even...
That's the fan base.
They even ended the movie
on
Joker and Harley together. And even in my mind, I'm like, God damn, I would love to see a Joker and Harley movie. Which was just, it was, people applauded at the end when you just saw an explosion in Harley's
Whoa! Because people knew what was coming.
They all knew it was Joker. And it was just like, but again, it just begs the question, why does Joker care so much about
Right. Why is he going through so much trouble to get her out?
Right. Yeah. Because we all know that if there's any relationship he's all crazy for, it's with the Batman.
Yes.
Which they haven't really explored too much either.
No. Which to me is fine because, again, like we talked about earlier, it would take away from this being a Suicide Squad movie. It's not Batman and Joker versus the Suicide Squad. It is Suicide Squad.
True, and that actually brings the other point around is the fact that we've been going on here for 15 minutes now, but we've barely talked about the actual what the focus
movie
was.
Right.
Suicide Squad. We're just talking about the main points that have stood out with the Easter eggs, the cameos, and such. But we also were kind of talking about this in the car. Is the fact that the movie really failed at letting us care about the relationship. It was supposed to be something really, really important. Pivotal to bring the team together, so to speak. Like the Avengers moment, the Phil Coulson to dying moment, that like they needed the push to actually bring the team together, and that was the whole relationship between Rick Flag and Enchantress.
June Moon.
It was like that was supposed to be the main thing. He cared about her, but they never really. It was done in a Amanda Waller exposition really quickly. That it didn't really give us a reason to actually even care if she lived or if she died, or why we should care if we should go with.
I gave no craps about that villain.
Nobody did. So it was the same thing, and that actually is what led us to start thinking about. Well, technically, they treated Harley and Joker's relationship the same way. It's just that we subconsciously filled in the blanks there.
Because we know those characters.
I will say, though, that was one of the best looking movies I have ever seen, like visually. I think that was better than Snyder's visualization of some stuff. Like it wasn't slow moments, like these like slow capes flapping type moments. There were some really good things coming out of Enchantress. Like it was.
The thing I definitely appreciate about this movie is its use of practical effects. There's a lot. I mean, and there definitely is CG stuff in there, especially with Enchantress because of her power.
Yes.
But I like the fact that this movie, it used CG when it needed to, it used practical when it could, and then when it couldn't, it blended both. Yeah. And I thought, like, for me, this movie felt more grounded, more realistic because of that. Yeah. Even though from the outside, it's very much a comic book.
Yeah,
so very much a comic book.
It almost felt like a happy medium between Nolan and Snyder, sort of put together. Actually, there was a lot of grounding.
I totally think so.
There was a lot of grounding. It does remind me a little bit of what someone said about Ghostbusters and the fact that if there was all this destruction, where are the people? Where did all the people go in the city?
And I think to me, I think that's an issue with the pacing. Is we all of a sudden jump from, squad being wrangled up to go on this mission, and then when you cut to the next scene to Midway City, everybody's gone, and it's like, where's like the parts in between that informs the audience? We've evacuated. We've taken steps to get everyone to safety. This is what's happening. Yada yada yada.
Well, but not even that. There was no concept of time because
not at all.
While the Enchantress and her brother were doing their thing, it was nighttime.
Right.
It was nighttime. But when they were assembling a team, it was daytime.
Yeah.
So I was like, and I think that was exactly the moment where I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, I can see where now we're headed toward kind of horrible BVS narrative.
Right.
Like now, like I was getting kind of frustrated too. I'm like, oh my God. And then finally it slowly started to get back on track when they got on the helicopter and they started heading toward there. I'm like, okay, now we're getting, but it took a long time to get back on the hype train, so to speak. But it was at that moment when Enchantress escaped and released her brother that things just got out of hand.
Yeah,
and it
agreed.
took a long time to get
because
back.
Rick Flag even says when he starts explaining to the squad what's been happening, he says 3 days ago, Enchantress like slipped out of my supervision, and this. So it's like it's a 3-day period before the squad even goes into this mission. It doesn't feel like that, and it's the same problem I had with Harley and Joker. From the way that it's kind of explained to us, it makes it feel like the scene with Harley, Joker, and Common. It makes it seem like that's some sort of a flashback, and it's.
That's who Common was.
Yeah. He's the tattooed man.
Oh my god!
Yeah. But it's weird because we see Harley in the beginning in Belle Reve. We get a flashback to her, Joker, and Common, to that whole sequence where they where they drive off the cliff. Batman takes her to Batman takes her to Belle Reve. But then the next time we see the Joker, it's supposed to be following that event of Harley being caught.
He's like, where is she?
Yeah, but the way that it's edited, all of a sudden you're like, wait, what's happening? Why is the Joker here? Why is he laying around all these knives? What does he want to go do? It's a little jittery.
There was another part where the whole thing was like, did the security guard slip her a cell phone or something? Is that
oh my god. I'm sorry, but that was terrible. He slips her the Joker's cell phone as the entire military is escorting them to the plane. I'm like, how did nobody see this?
But then on top of that, wasn't he the one that was torturing Harley at the same time?
Well, he was the one who was in the scene where he's playing when he's gambling, and then Joker comes in, and that's when he supposedly gives him the phone.
Oh.
So it's again, there are some things with the editing and the pacing that's a little wish-washy.
Okay.
Yeah,
I couldn't put that like what?
Yeah.
Okay, and then what was the other thing with Joker and the goodie bag? Like they were going in. Why did they break into a laboratory?
They broke into the laboratory because the scientist in that laboratory is able to disable the chip in their neck. So they take over the plane, they go to the top of the building, they light all those guys up, and then the scientist in the back disabling the chip out of her neck. That's why she's able to escape. Which is weird because
wait. When did Harley's thing get disabled?
As she was trying to make a run to jump onto the plane, the scientist is disabled. That's why it turns green.
Right.
Remember, she's like, "What? Do I have a hickey or something?" Because Deadshot notices that the thing changes color. Yeah.
I thought he was looking at her because he was like, "That's your boyfriend,
right?
Why is he shooting at her?"
Exactly. That's why she's like, "Do I have a hickey or something?" But the only weird thing about that is when they go back into the scene after when Joker supposedly dies, they go into the cafe or they go into the bar and have a bunch of drinks, and Rick Flag says, you're free to go, and he smashes the device. Boomerang splits the hell out of that, which I thought was hilarious. But then Harley's looking to see if the device, I'm like, it's already been disabled. You good. You could have left already. Right. So that was there are little things that I'm like, the editing choices were weird here. Why did you do this?
A lot of scenes from the trailer was cut. The whole thing about what are you having? Beer.
Right, and I was like, "That's a great moment. Why'd you cut that out?"
Right, that was a great.
What am I? 12?
12, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good here.
Do you feel like the trailers gave away too much of the movie? Looking back at it,
no.
No.
Actually, I looking back at the movie, the best. I will say that the trailers did fine. Mm-hmm. The TV spots is the stuff that ruined.
Yeah, you got to stay away from those damn TV spots. They ruin everything.
I really hate that as a sort of a reactor because people just hound you forever.
We just don't do it. Right. We tell people we're on an embargo. We're not. Sorry.
Yeah, people just always say, "Come on, there's no spoilers. Don't worry. It's just plot." I'm like, "Yeah,"
because you've seen the movie and you know. Apparently,
there's no spoilers. Just new footage. I'm like, dude, new footage is a spoiler.
Right?
Don't you get about that?
Imagine if you watch the TV spot and Flash shows up. You're like, first of all, why the hell did you put this in here? Second of all, damn it.
Yeah. I bet you, actually, I'm starting to think in about 2 weeks or so, or maybe in less than a week, we're gonna get something like that. Catch them if you can.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll be the.
It'll
TV
be
spot
in there,
right there. So I shy away from TV spots, and I really hate that people do. But the problem is, the internet ruins it for everybody in the sense that they'll show the TV spot, and even if you avoid the TV spot, they'll make a goddamn GIF out of it,
right?
And then that shows up on your Twitter anyways. So it's kind of like, yo, come on.
Yeah.
Or someone will comment on my channel and be like, no, hey, react to the scene, react to the TV spot where Joker did. I'm like, why do you want me to react to it?
Yeah. Let me go watch the movie and I'll tell you what I think about it in context.
But I am kind of disappointed a lot of those scenes were like the Joker with half of his face.
Dude. Bye-bye! Like, I thought that was going to be so cool to see him come into the end. And that like, to me, that really...
Because he was dressed up. That was after the crash.
Totally.
That was weird that they cut that out.
Yeah.
Like, I mean...
That goes back to that whole thing of all the articles that have come out and how the movie was re-edited and all these certain things. It's like, ooh, we know they did reshoots. We don't know exactly what the reshoots were for. Sure. Some say it's for the beginning. Some say it's for the end. And it's like, why was all this stuff changed?
Here's an interesting question. If it wasn't for the BVS fallout, do you think we would have had... do you think we would have a better... Suicide Squad movie or not?
It's a fair question. It's a fair question, and I don't know because like the trailers were really good, and I don't know from the trailers how much of, at least from the latest two trailers, the Hall H trailer and then the Blitz trailer, how much of that stuff had the reshoot material, because some of it does, some of it doesn't. Because there's a scene with Joker where he pulls the pin out of the grenade with his mouth, and like that's not in the movie. I think if anything, maybe we would have gotten a version that's a little more coherent, but maybe a version that's not as maybe not entertaining, but that doesn't have as much levity. And I don't know if I prefer that or not, because I remember the Comic-Con trailer that came out for Suicide Squad last year in Hall H. It had a very different tone. It was much darker, and it still had some humor moments to it, but it was very much just focused on the darkness and the creepiness and the scariness of these characters, which with Suicide Squad I feel like you can get away with a little bit more, but automatically you're going to have levity because of Harley Quinn and because of presumably characters like Joker. The fact that a character like Deadshot and Boomerang brought levity to the movie too is great. So I don't know. If they do some kind of an extended cut, I'd be interested to see it. But David Ayer has said that the version that's in the theater is the David Ayer version.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know.
That's kind of that's this point that I'd like. Honestly, there's so many scenes of Harley and Joker that I just wanted to see, because I know they cut out a lot.
Yeah.
And that's so disappointing, because there's somewhere out there, there's some other scenes of Joker, because he does look good, and I want to see more before I can make a final opinion on like, is he good or not?
Right.
Like, but I think I wouldn't mind David Ayer doing Batman, or working on his version of Batman. Just keep the Phantom Bat thing going on. I thought that was good, the way they less is better here. Just show him as the creature of the night he's supposed to be. And to me, I feel David Ayer, and they treated him better that way. And like, even when Viola Davis is talking about, I just gave an anonymous tip to some person would have. You see the skyline.
You're like,
you see Gotham City. You're like, that's fucking Batman she's talking about. And then he just shows up like a like, that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of shit you do, not some. Well, anyways, I'm gonna stop before I get on that rant.
How do you feel about some of the other characters?
Right, the Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
right?
The Squad. We're turning this into a Batman movie.
Yeah, it always is on this channel. I would say Will Smith. It was Will Smith being Deadshot, so I kind of was in between on that. Like, I prefer Assault on Arkham or any other version of like what I've seen so far, even the Deadshot I've saw on Arrow or so right now. But it was okay. It was buyable, I guess. The outfit was kind of cool. Kind of the mask part. I didn't like his suit. Like, of all we had a giant goddamn crocodile, we had a clown, we had a fire, we had a witch dude, we had Captain Flag, whatever his name was. Then just Will Smith's costume is the one that stuck out like a sore thumb for some reason. Like, if they had gone for more of the tactile, like SWAT, like, I don't know, it looked like bad cosplay on it. I got it. It looked like a paintball suit.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like, it has this weird,
like a wetsuit that's supposed to be for paintballing.
Or inverted like paintball suit or something like that. Like if they had gone for maybe a little more of what Nolan's Batman was wearing or something like that, or like Big Daddy out of Kick-Ass or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something that just didn't. It stood out really odd for me with the rest of the practicality everybody else kind of had out of there. Harley was. Again, I don't know what it is, but I refer so much to Assault on Arkham because I feel like Assault on Arkham was like the perfect Suicide Squad movie right there, and it had enough of Batman, it had enough of Joker in there, and it showed the relationship. But it was fine. I think it was passable. There were points where I was like, oh, this is so dope as Harley, but it wasn't enough to be like, this is going to be the new definitive Harley Quinn type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing that would make me feel like I'm really digging like this more than, for example, when I saw Ledger as Joker, I'd be like, yeah, okay, this was entertaining, but I wouldn't be like, it's better than Mark Hamill, but I'd be like, this is entertaining. I still feel like the other iterations of Harley I've seen have been better. This one was this kind of weird New York, like, or Jersey accent, kind of. She was kind of, I don't know. Sometimes it kind of annoyed me, and then sometimes I'm like, okay, it's fine. Like, yeah. That point was weird. I liked Enchantress. I actually liked what she was. I actually thought she made a very good villain.
Really?
Like, yeah, I know you.
She was, like her.
But I felt like she wasn't like a throwaway Marvel villain. That's the thing. That's the main thing about it was, we have a lot of setup villains, disposable villains.
Yeah.
And I felt like she was a good villain. Like, and not even, like, she was kind of like a villain, but, like, she was a villain for all intents and purposes.
Lady, you are evil!
That was funny. the kind of cringy, but kind of funny at the same time. But I did like one of my favorite lines out of Will Smith's Dead Shop. It was like, how are you not dead? Like,
that was great. Because I completely agree.
Yeah.
How did Amanda Waller survive that? Any of that?
Yeah.
But I'm glad they didn't kill her, because that's the biggest mistake I think Green Lantern did, was that they basically killed her. More or less.
That's right. And on top of that, there was all this other stuff was like they didn't even explain that she was getting fed off of or something.
Yeah, it's like a quick shot.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
I think my biggest issue with Enchantress is she wants to build this weapon, this machine to destroy humanity, but they don't they explain nothing. They explain nothing of like what's her motivation, why. Like, granted, she's a 6,000-year-old witch. That's great. She talks about like how humanity is this way and that way now, but like, for me, it didn't give me enough. I didn't look at her story and be like, that's a really good motivating fact. Like with Joker, he always feels like he's doing the right thing.
Right.
That's terrifying, to think that you're the bad guy thinking you're doing the right thing. With Enchantress, it was kind of just like, I just want to build a nice little crazy blue swirly thing in the sky with a bunch of trash circling around him.
And I need my brother around because they need some sort of big bad to be around.
And I don't really understand why they hid the fact that she's the villain. I assumed she was. I don't know. Just from the trailer, the vibe I got, I was like, oh, they're going to fight Enchantress. The movie really hid that, or the trailers really hid that. I'm not sure why. I don't know what the point of it was. But yeah, I get it. And I think I understand why. It's because they really wanted this movie to be about the squad. And I get that. And for that, it's like, the villain's real garbage. I don't like the villain at all. I don't really care for her. I was hoping that she would just die at the end of the movie. But I get it that the movie is really just about building the squad, which they did semi-successfully, I think.
Yeah. Semi-successful. I mean, they had Katana in there, which had no purpose at all.
Like I said last time, they just forgot to schedule her shoot dates. So.
Yeah, like Katana was just kind of there, and like I was like, all right, well, you didn't really need her to be in there.
No.
But like, it was kind of funny for me to listen to her because I know this was like her first time, or big acting break actually, and it was kind of funny to hear her in Japanese as well, to see how well she could actually pull off acting in Japanese. And they kind of gave her that stereotypical role that a lot of Japanese actors get, is that they only speak in Japanese. And it was interesting to me.
There's one part where she says something in Japanese and it doesn't have subtitles.
No subtitles.
You laughed at it, and I went, "Wait, what? What'd she say?" You're the only person in the theater who was like, "Nah," and everyone else was like, "What?"
Nah. She was like, "Doko desu ka? Mienai." She's like, "Where did she go? I can't see."
Oh,
like
okay.
That. Yeah, she was like, "Doko desu ka? Miemasen." Like that. She's like, "I can't see."
You would think they would subtitle that. It's kind of like in a critical fight scene where they're trying to defeat the villain. What does Katana say? I don't know because I don't understand Japanese.
That is funny. That would have actually been funny if they if Will Smith was like,
"What?
What did she say?
Yeah,
say what? Like that? Like,
English woman,
do you
speak it."
Yeah, there's a few scenes in there, and then when she was praying to her husband or something like that, I was kind of hearing it too, and I was like, that was a little annoying, and we talked about that as well as they gave a brief backstory.
Yeah,
on Katana and
because to me, like that could be such a beautiful thing to understand why Katana is so passionate about this sword, why this weapon, why does she always have it on her? What's so significant about the fact that it traps the souls of the victims that she or whoever previously used it to kill people? Why is that significant to her? Oh, it holds the soul of her dead husband. Kind of an important thing to feel sympathetic towards the character.
Then suddenly Captain Boomerang, well, you know what they say about the crazy ones.
What?
But even that was edited better. Like there was a long pause in the theatrical release. It was just like, what? Like that. So it lost its taste on that one.
Right.
So.
And speaking of Captain Boomerang, I actually really like Jai Courtney in this.
Yeah.
For the most part, I'm not the biggest fan of Jai Courtney. I don't think he's done really anything that great. But I think Boomerang and the amount of time that he had in this movie, I thought he was fine. With what he had, I thought he was great. I wouldn't mind seeing him in a Flash movie, probably not as the main antagonist, but maybe a part of, like in the show they have they've got oh my god, what's his name? Wentworth Miller and Dominic Purcell's characters.
Oh, Captain Cold.
Captain Cold, exactly. And Heatwave. They have, I'd be fine with seeing him paired up with somebody. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, and then before we forget, one of the biggest spoilers, I guess, was we talked about this already. It's like I felt that this movie did a better justice to setting up the DCEU than Batman v Superman.
With one scene.
I guess technically so. Yes, you're right. With just one scene, it did better. I felt that they probably should have released Suicide Squad with editing out, with rearranging the whole thing of Superman dying in the Superman shirts. That was actually kind of cool. How they had that scene in there. That was cool. That was cool.
It helps. It just helps kind of connect the movie.
And I noticed they added, there were different lines in there now, like what if Superman, like we don't have that Superman now, but now and it was actually really cool to help build up Superman.
And it's interesting because Amanda Waller says, thank God that Superman had our values, our more values.
I thought that was
great. I'm like, why wasn't that in Batman versus Superman?
Thank you.
Why?
Thank you.
Why wasn't that more on the forefront? But anyway, that's Batman versus Superman.
I think David Ayer and I think the writers for Suicide Squad.
They get it, or he gets. Well, he wrote it and directed, so he gets it more.
Okay, better, so then he got what they're trying to do with Batman and Superman better than what Snyder was. Anyways, so setting up the DCEU, and so the end credit scene with Bruce Wayne and Amanda Waller together, I was like, all right, okay. Like Bruce Wayne and Ben Affleck was doing his thing there, and I was like, okay, dude, that's all you needed to show was to flip through that real quick. Show some things. You didn't need the DVD.
You got Harley, you got Barry Allen, and then you have Arthur Curry, and it's like we set up the Justice League movie.
That was it. You didn't need to flip you didn't need DVD extras and shit. Like that was enough.
It was either this movie, Suicide Squad, could have came out before Batman vs Superman, or this scene could have been at the end of Batman vs Superman, starting on Bruce Wayne, then revealing that he's talking to Amanda Waller to tie into Suicide Squad.
No, that would have been actually nice.
And then flip through the page and you see Harley Quinn, you see Deadshot, and then you go to Flash and Aquaman.
I get it. That's not a bad idea either.
So it could have gone either way. But I think I think you're right though. I think that for me too, I think that one scene of just seeing the files was more than enough than having to sit through Wonder Woman clicking through every single file.
Right.
Meanwhile, Doomsday's destroying Metropolis. but let's click through all these files. Like, I think that would have worked so much better.
Enchantress was better than Doomsday. That's for sure.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that.
Really? I
think Doomsday as like a villain, what his purpose was, I may have liked more than Enchantress, but in terms of how it story driven, maybe Enchantress was better.
Did you notice though that they didn't really actually talk about Batman v Superman, with the exception of that one scene with Superman
in the beginning?
Like,
yeah,
that was it.
They very much don't acknowledge it.
They really don't acknowledge anything that happened.
And it's funny because a lot of people have been saying so far, they're like, well, if Batman and Flash exist in this universe, couldn't they have just come in and stopped? And it's like, well, the same could be said about Marvel movies too, though.
Right.
In Iron Man 3, why doesn't Captain America just show up and help him defeat, X, Y, and Z characters? But it's not the point. It's these movies are we're supposed to give these mainstream characters a break so we can spend time with other characters.
Right. So overall, in the end, how did you feel about Suicide Squad?
Second time watching it, I liked it a lot more.
Yeah.
There are still, from a comic book viewer's perspective, the issues are minor. From a filmmaking, critical perspective, they're a little bit more major. But with that being said, I still enjoyed the movie. I had fun with the movie, which is what I've been wanting from these DC movies. I've been wanting to have fun.
Yes.
I still think that Man of Steel is my number one DCEU movie. I would probably put Suicide Squad second. Now, after watching it the second time, I would probably put that as number 2, and then BVS Ultimate Edition as third.
There's only 3.
There's only 3, so that's the only option. It's the only option right now.
That's
but yeah, I definitely had a lot more fun with this movie. I would love to see a Suicide Squad sequel.
Yes,
even if
me
they
too.
were to change up the lineup a little bit. Oh, one thing I do want to say too is I really liked El Diablo.
I liked them too.
I was really surprised because going into the movie, I thought Diablo was just going to be a throwaway character who would die. Right. I thought Jay Hernandez played it really well. I thought they gave the character a good enough arc that made me really sympathetic towards the character. And then when he dies at the end, I actually kind of gave a shit. There's one thing about what he says about, I lost one family. I'm not going to let you take away the other. Again, if the buildup of the Suicide Squad would have been stronger, then I would have believed it 100%. I would have backed that completely.
I felt some of the delivery, and like you said, the buildup and the pacing was so strange that the delivery of what he was
wasn't earned.
It wasn't strong enough. Like when he started going into his spill at the bar, I'm like, why the fuck are you even saying? Yeah. Why are you saying this now?
And why are these characters so sympathetic to you all of a sudden? Yeah.
What about killing the children? And it's like, wait, Harley, do you really care at this point?
Yeah. Do you really care?
Right.
But to me, that was one character I was like, man, I'm actually really glad that we got a good backstory. We got to see his emotional struggle. We got to see him coming out and trying to break through that emotional struggle. And then at the end, he sacrifices himself to really help save the squad, which I thought was really cool. So he was definitely a standout.
Yeah. If they had paced it better a little,
it would have worked even better.
It would have worked even better. But I understand. I was actually kind of bummed out when he died because I thought, oh shit, he's actually doing something pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. But now he's nothing now. He's gone now. So it's I would overall agree with you. I enjoyed the movie a lot. I went in hyped as hell for it, and then I left just as equally. It actually gave me hope toward the DCEU. Mm-hmm. Not so much about Justice League still, but I would love to see a Suicide Squad 2.
Yeah. I
would love to see Ayer still working more of the DC properties or so. Wonder Woman, I'm fine with that. But, I still have some doubts about where they're headed. Mm-hmm. But if they can keep this flavor that I saw in Suicide Squad, tighten it up just a little bit more, I'd be fine with it. I'm on the same boat as you. As a comic book fan, I was able to subconsciously fill in a lot of the blanks, so it made the ride a lot easier. But looking at it from just a film perspective, it's very difficult to hold up to like you were saying. While we were watching, we saw all these people applauding and clapping in the movie theater, but we both doubted that most of them have probably ever seen a lot of other outside movie type of what other critics.
They haven't seen Sing Street,
right? Exactly,
or movies like that, and that's fine. That's nothing. That's not a knock against the audience at all. But that just goes to show you have to then see the critic's perspective.
Yes,
because the critics watch hundreds and hundreds of movies a year, so they're critiquing movies against all other types
Right.
of movies. They're not just looking at it and going, well, how does this compare to Marvel?
Right.
How does this compare to the other 1,000 movies that have come out this year?
And then they wonder why Marvel gets such high ratings. Well, like we always use this test. If you take the name Tony Stark away, if you take Iron Man away and Captain America and Steve Rogers, if you just take these away and just put these blank characters in there, you still have in Civil War, you still have a well-developed character development story, and that's what a lot of critics go in there looking at it like that. They're not comparing a Marvel movie to a Marvel movie needs to be this way, because we could say the same thing about them trying to compare a Nolan film to what's going on now. That's still a DC property or so. So they, people aren't comparing Ledger to Leto's Joker. They just saw it as a pretty damn good performance. Whatever he was trying to do in the short time he was there, it was there. So I understand why the critics are panning it so hard, because it was kind of like, without having that subconscious fill in the blanks that comic book fans naturally have, it's really hard. If I like I said in the previous video, if I bring my girl in to watch this Suicide, I'd rather introduce her to Assault on Arkham way before I would show her Suicide Squad, the movie, because we're going to watch this movie for 2 hours and 20 minutes. And then I'm going to have to spend 30 minutes after the movie's over explaining why certain things went.
Context.
The context of the story. So, but overall, I'm excited for this movie. I hope it does well. I won't be surprised if it won't bomb, but
the drop off could be maybe not as bad as Batman versus Superman.
Not that bad,
but it will drop. Yeah,
I think it's less of a huge disappointment like BVS was, and it's gonna just be a more of like, no, I just didn't feel like I wasn't really on the edge of seeing it. Like, the only thing that would have saved Suicide Squad essentially from suicide is the fact that it would have had to have high marks to get the general audience to be like, oh, I've been seeing it everywhere, and now people are talking about it. Let's go see it. But even me coming in here, flying from Japan to LA to see this movie early, talking to my friends, and I was so disappointed about the ratings, and even my friends who are comic fans, they're like, why didn't you expect this movie to be bad?
Which is a bummer.
Yeah, they were already a lot of people I know in my circles were not really expecting much out of this movie to begin with. Yeah. So, I guess in short, I guess that's my prediction for Suicide Squad. It probably won't do well in the next couple of weeks, but I still enjoyed it, and I think as comic book fans, most people will enjoy it, and hopefully that DC and Warner Brothers will learn from this and just continue to put out just quality stuff that has an artistic flow. But just remember, you got to remove the hype factor out of it and make sure you tell a story that of good character development that people can get behind. All audiences, general audiences. So
give your writer more than 6 weeks to write a script too.
That would help. Did they only have 6 weeks? Yeah. That explains a lot. It reminds me of my Deadpool.
Warner Brothers, don't mingle into things. Just let the directors make the movie.
All right, so Red Dreaded Nation, stand up, speak up. This was a long one here, I know. Thank you for hanging out with us. And let me know what you guys thought about this movie. Again, make sure you check out part 1. There actually is a giveaway. They're giving away on Superhero News. They're giving away Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. Don't worry, it's not my copy. I never bought that movie. And I never will.
I did. And in 3D.
Oh, God. Yeah. All right, guys. Again, stand up, speak up. Let me know what you guys think. And, of course, head on over to Adam's channel, Superhero News. What do you guys cover over there?
All the things. The latest superhero news. We review all the movies. We do trailer reactions. We're gonna start doing some throwbacks to Smallville.
Hey,
we're gonna be doing a lot more throwbacks, and we're gonna start doing maybe some more movie marathons as well. So check it out.
I definitely will have to. Thanks for coming on.
Of course, man. Thank you so much.
We're out of here, guys. Peace.
After an arduous journey, my movie finally made it to Japan, and without naming names, I'm completely out of budget for my sequel, but I need to find some budding movie talent. So I'm reaching out to Akasan, the red-dreaded beast himself, to see if we can find me some movie stars. Let's do this, Japan!